Hey guys, my name is Heather and today I'm going to be making a video with some tips for you guys who are going to National Portfolio Day. I said I would make a video about this probably like a year ago or something when I posted the only other video on my channel, but I've finally gotten around to making it. So I hope this is helpful to you, although probably not the original people it was intended for, the next year of people, but I hope it is helpful to you. So let's get going. National Portfolio Day is a free event that is hosted by various colleges and venues around, I believe, just the United States, and you don't have to pay for it. You can just go and you can get your portfolio reviewed by a bunch of different college reps from art schools around the country. So the next thing I'm going to talk about a little is how to prepare. And this is going to differ a little bit depending on what year in high school you're in. I personally went to National Portfolio Day as both a junior and a senior, and I have a really outdated blog post on an old blog I made, and I'll link it down below. You can check it out, my experience going as a junior, and then I did go again as a senior. The reason that this experience is different is because as a junior, they're going to be giving you advice for you to work on over the next year of things you can add and improve on to increase your likelihood of getting into that school. Whereas as a senior, they're kind of assessing your current ability. Some schools will decide right then and there if you are accepted or not to their school based on your portfolio. If not, if they don't give that kind of decision on National Portfolio Day, then instead they're advising you what you should and should not include in your portfolio rather than for long-term improvement. So I think if you're going as a sophomore or a junior, you can have kind of more free range to bring a bunch of different things. You can include, some experimental things, some new things you're trying out, just to see kind of what response you'll get from people from a bunch of different types of your art. And this doesn't mean that you should or shouldn't make this art in the future, but you can use it instead as a guideline for what you should or should not include in your portfolio. So if you're going as a senior, you want to include a wide range of what you can do, but also you want to show your very best work. You don't want to be showing them something you did 3 years ago. You don't want to be showing them, something really rough and not finished. You want to show them good work that shows that you have potential for their school. And that's one of the important things that I stressed in my last video, is that they're really looking for potential here, not someone who's already incredibly successful necessarily or already incredibly talented. They're looking for potential. The next thing we're going to talk about is preparing your physical portfolio. What are you going to bring with you? What are you going to show these people? That's the whole point. So a lot of this depends on what kind of media you work in. If you work completely in video and like web art or anything like that, you're going to want to bring your laptop or like a tablet and have that fully charged and have a clean display and just display your entire portfolio on there. If you work digitally, like with Illustrator, with Photoshop, with any kind of photography, and even with sculpture, since you can't bring the giant physical sculpture with you and you mostly have photographs of that, you can either do the same thing, show your portfolio on a laptop, or you can get some prints printed out in like a little portfolio booklet. And this is actually what I did for all of my work junior year. And I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend that for artists like me who do mostly drawings and paintings, because just make sure, like during the portfolio review, that you talk to them a bit about the process, since they're not seeing the digital work, or if it's a sculpture, you talk a bit about the medium and the size of these pieces. And you can also do the same thing for if you have any really large paintings or other large works. Just make sure to photograph it well with good lighting, and then just as I said, make sure during your review that you mention to them the size or the scale that you're working in. So for people who have done more drawing and painting based work, which is what I've done and what I know a lot of high schoolers are kind of like producing in their time in high school, you're going to want to get like a physical portfolio that you bring with you, and I'm going to show you an example of that. This is the kind of portfolio I recommend getting. This is the kind that I always used for my portfolio reviews. As you can see, there's like a strap here, which makes it pretty easy to carry. And I'll show you in a second, it actually unzips. So yeah, this portfolio basically unzips all the way around. So then you can kind of just open it up flat like it's a book, and then you can just flip through all of your work. And this is work from college, but you'll just like flip through. The person will be standing on the other side of the table. You'll be standing on the front side of the table, and you'll just go through and explain each of your pieces. And you're going to want to put all of the works that you can physically bring with you inside of there. Maybe you can't bring a bunch of really thick canvases or really large canvases, but anything else you can bring, watercolor paintings, drawings, charcoal drawing, anything like that, you're going to want to put in this portfolio, and you're going to want to arrange it in kind of like something along the lines of like your best work, and then boom, 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 another great piece, boom, 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 a good final piece to land on as you're discussing your overall portfolio. I kind of did this in that I had, as I explained, I had like my best pieces at the front and at the end, but within my portfolio, I had some drawing pieces, some painting, watercolor, that kind of stuff. And I also took a bunch of photography classes in high school, so I had some photography in there too. So that was my overall portfolio. And then I also brought with me a sketchbook. And not all of the schools are going to have time or be interested in looking at your sketchbook, but if you do have time, it's a great thing to be able to flip through and show them your process, show them ideas you're working through, and just show them in general that you're hardworking. So now that we've talked about what work you're going to bring and how you're going to bring it, there's a few other steps to prepare before you actually go to National Portfolio Day. And one thing I recommend doing is practicing talking about your work. What I recommend doing is you can actually find a lot of like mock portfolio reviews to watch on YouTube, and that helps a lot to just see the format and see the kind of questions they ask. And a way of practicing this, you can do it a bunch of different ways. You could just kind of like show your parents your work and tell them about it. Or you could even like record a video just in your room by yourself, going through and talking about the works in order. Or you could even ask, I'm sure one of your art teachers at your high school would love to help you and like go through this and have you practice talking about your work. What was your process for making this? What was your inspiration? Like, possibly did you learn anything from it? Things like that, and kind of showing that you can learn from your work, that you can draw connections between your work, show common themes of your work. Okay, so now we've covered your portfolio, what you're going to be putting in that, and how to kind of prepare for the actual portfolio review. But for the day itself, there's also a few things you might want to prepare for. I would recommend bringing someone with you. They can help you carry all your stuff, and a lot of people also have their parents like wait on a long line for them while they go to other reviews. Another thing I would bring is food and water, or at least like some snacks and water, because depending on where you go, they may not have that available, and if you're there like for a long time, you might get pretty tired. And so that's just one thing I learned from one year to the next, because I went to National Portfolio Day at the Javits Center in New York City, and there's not really anywhere to get food there. And I would also bring with you kind of a plan for your day, or like what your plan of action is with the colleges you want to get your portfolio reviewed by. Most of the time, the venue that is hosting National Portfolio Day will put a list of the attending colleges online beforehand, and you can kind of go through, do some research with their colleges you don't know, mark the ones you're interested in getting a review from, and kind of make like a list of priorities, like what ones you really want to go to, what ones you will if you have time, etc. And when I went to National Portfolio Day, people would normally all like sprint to the first school they really wanted to go to. So like they let you in, people are like sprinting to all the big schools. Everyone's going to like Pratt and RISD and SAIC and MICA, and so they can get in before the lines. So things I recommend for the actual day of like which colleges to go to, I recommend you kind of mix it up, like have a few like reach schools to see what they think about your work, have a few schools that you really would like to get into and think might accept you, and also have a mix of schools that are maybe like smaller schools. They're often like less popular to get a review from a national portfolio day, but I had some of the best reviews with people from those schools. So a lot of times representatives at these smaller colleges won't have as long of a line, so they'll be willing to talk with you for longer and in more detail on all of your pieces. And I actually think that that was the most helpful part of National Portfolio Day for me, was the reviews I received that were like really in detail, in-depth reviews that really helped me figure out what I should and shouldn't be doing. So you've gone to National Portfolio Day, maybe a few schools accepted you, maybe a few schools gave you some really good advice. So now what do? So to follow up on all of this advice you've just received, I recommend first of all that you write it down. And this is something you can do throughout the day, kind of like while you're waiting on the next line you're getting on. Just like jot down in your notes on your iPhone what they said so that you remember at the end of it. And so when you go home, you can kind of look through all your notes and kind of see what is and isn't working for you and like what you want to work on from there based on these reviews. I found that you have to really remember that these people are like one representative of the school and don't necessarily show whether or not you get into the school overall. For example, I really wanted to go to MICA at the time during college, and I had my portfolio reviewed by them about like 4 to 5 times. I had a very large variety of reviews from them, and there were a few that based off of that I thought I would never get into the school, and there were a few that were really positive. So kind of like it helps to remember that this one person does not decide your fate, because if I thought it was all based on this one guy I had a review with, I wouldn't be getting in there. And it's possible even for some of you seniors out there to get accepted to some schools. That's actually how I got accepted to the school I go to now. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you have any more questions at all, feel free to ask them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Or if you have any other questions on topics related to art and art school and portfolios, that kind of stuff, I would love to answer them and be some kind of help to you or some kind of resource to all you guys out there. And yeah.